Welcome back to the Morning After series. In this final episode of the series, Candace Bushnell, creator of Sex and the City, and I are going to be chatting about everything from career and adulting to relationships, friendships, and of course, love, or the struggle to find it, maybe with a pet, here in New York City with Dorinda Medley. The series is sponsored by Magnum Ice Cream. Magnum Ice Cream believes in more chocolate, more sauces, and more of what makes you, you. Magnum Double Caramel Ice Cream Bars are the #1 caramel ice cream treat in the market. Magnum Ice Cream believes in more chocolate, more sauces, and more of what makes you, you. See why more is more with Magnum Double Caramel. Trust us, you'll love them. I hope you enjoy the episode. On that note, welcome to our last and final episode together. I'm sad it's coming to an end.
I am too.
I didn't even know what was going on, so that's great. And I'm all right. Thank God I caught it at the end.
Yes.
Well, we thought, you know what, we've interviewed women from like every decade, and I think it's interesting to hear different perspectives of dating, love, work, family life from like so many different perspectives. Dorinda, welcome.
Right.
Yes.
And you two go way back.
I said that we've been around the block, we've gone around again, and we're going around a third time.
Exactly.
And we still got a smile on our faces.
What's different about the block this time?
Wisdom. I think wisdom's a big thing.
I'm thinking, what's different? Yeah, we're older.
Okay, but
And-
do you feel like you have wisdom?
I feel like I have wisdom, and I feel like I have a lot of peace, and I'm much more content with myself. You know, people wouldn't realize this about me because I come off as very happy-go-lucky, but I do suffer from anxiety because I'm an overachiever. I'm pretty pleased with how I run my life. I'm quite a control freak the way I'm scheduled in my life. But every once in a while, anxiety catches me. So, and when I was younger, I had that a lot more. So now as I'm older, I definitely have more self-confidence, far more accepting of myself, less fearful, and I just think overall contentment.
I also feel less anxiety, but I also feel less, sort of desire to like manifest things and make things happen and, all of that, even though I'm sort of frustrated by what feels like not enough things happening. I'm a big sufferer of FOMO. Fear of missing out. Like I just found out Dorinda went to this party last night that I was invited to and I didn't go because I was like, it's all the way downtown. And now I'm just kicking myself.
Was it a good party?
Because, yes, it was a really good party.
Damn, why wasn't I invited, Dorinda?
Well, it was like
Yes.
the old school group. But you can be part of the old school group as a young person. I think, Candace, one thing that I think is great, because I've been in those places, especially because we live in a sort of a career that doesn't have a lot of structure. So if we're not
Yes.
creating our careers constantly and updating and making ourselves relevant to the spaces have changed so much since what we've
Yes.
come from.
Yes.
I think a beautiful thing to do is to really do a hard reset.
What does that mean?
I find sometimes I'll just go to the Berkshires and say, I have to stop thinking about everything and just clear the canvas and almost go down to base and recreate from there and just having, because noise begets noise.
True.
So if you've
Yes.
got a noisy head and then you're trying to do stuff, it gets more noisy and you're not doing it well. That sometimes if you lower the temperature, lower the volume, change your environment, come to Blue Stone Manor. Just reset myself with breathing, with lifting your head up and looking forward, with not worried about what's going on next. Cancel everything. Just go simple. And then one day you'll wake up and you'll be like, I'm ready to go back and fight the fight. Like I feel refreshed and new. I have new eyes on this whole thing.
Yes. I just feel like everything's changed so much and is changing at such a rapid pace. And there's so many things to keep up with that feels overwhelming.
I think you can pick a lane. I think you can pick lanes. You can be like, okay, I'm going to be really dedicated to Instagram and TikTok, but I'm not going to do YouTube and I'm not going to worry about the next flashy thing. And you just are like, these are my lanes.
Cut out the fat.
Yeah.
I think your book talks about that because I've been reading your book. And you know who
thanks.
else talks? It's very good. It's a
Thank
very
you.
good guide. And I love anything that can give me that kind of structure and a guide. But the woman that helped Kim Kardashian start Kim's, Emma, what's her name?
Emma Green.
Emma Green said something very interesting the other day. She said, you have to learn to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do things without having a support system. And
That's true.
Richard Medley, God rest his soul, he used to say, the problem with you is, Dorinda, you're all about the micro and not enough about the macro. You get so stuck in all the little shit that you can never get to the big shit.
Yep.
And he was an excellent, it used to drive me crazy. He was excellent at just delegating, taking it off his plate, and having faith with the loss of control of doing that. And that's where I get lost. You know, I'll say to someone, can you wrap this present? I'm like, not like that.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I feel like we have to build our villages of people that you can know can take the baton. And that's hard to do at first. And then once you get a great baton taker, it's like, oh my God, you can run it 100 miles faster.
What would be an ideal sort of, where would you feel would be an ideal place for you to be in your space or in your life or because I think about that all the time when I write it down.
Right. You know what? I don't even know. I mean, I feel like my life is so, it's like I have all these different projects, but none of them feel like they're coming together. You know, like doing this one-woman show, which I'm doing at Sony Hall on May 16th.
Buy your tickets now, May 16th,
Yes.
everybody.
Buy your tickets now. But I'm doing that. I'm traveling for that. I'm also, supposed to be writing a book, and then I'm also working on an adaptation of one of my books for a TV series. But all of that, everything's just feels really slow.
Do you think it feels slow because social media is moving so fast and what you're doing is actually happening right on time?
No, I feel like things are slow because they are slow. Like it takes, a month to set up a meeting or a phone call for a TV conversation.
You feel like that for you?
I find it overwhelming because I don't have an assistant. I don't have anybody who works with me.
This podcast is actually now an intervention. We're going to help
Yes,
Candace.
yes.
Help me.
No, but I get it. I know that feeling because, when you live and work out, we live and work out of our homes more or less. We don't have offices.
Yes.
So it's very hard to bring a lot of people into your life because as a
You don't want them in your
creative,
home.
I can imagine you don't want a lot of people there taking up your space, right? And you travel and I'm sure, for all of us, it's a financial thing. It's not a dirty thing. Assistants aren't cheap, good ones. You certainly don't want a bad one.
Terrible.
Okay, because that makes your business worse.
Yep.
So you're constantly weighing that out. And I think also too, you're right. What you should decide is what and prioritize it or put it, 1, 2, 3. What would you love to see developed the most?
I like that.
What would that be?
I want it all to be developed.
Yeah, but pick
I
one.
want to do a dating show, which is
Ooh.
something that I pitched and nobody bought it.
Bravo was doing a dating show.
Yes,
You know
I know
about it.
all about it.
Okay. All right. Enough said.
So,
Well, it sounds like you need a prescription for Blue Stone Manor.
Yes.
yes,
I invite
exactly.
her all the time. It's a great reset. I'm going up this weekend. And I reset. I'll tell you what's helped me a lot too is after I came back from Traders, people had a lot of problem with that, them taking away your phone and taking away your internet,
Yes.
and they literally can't even come out your door. So you're really isolated for the period you're there, from the time you land at the airport.
And how long was that?
Well, for
Shoot,
me, because
was
I got
it like-
murdered first, it wasn't that long. But
Did you have to stay there though?
Yeah, you're
Wait,
you're
after
in it.
you're murdered, you don't get to go home?
You stay
No.
for a period to do, promo and stuff like that. But the thing that I realized, first of all, it's jarring because we don't know a world anymore that isn't in constant communication. But once it's gone, there was a moment after 2-3 days where I was like, it's not that I didn't miss it. It's that God, I just found myself even standing differently, waking up differently. Just feeling more relaxed, that when I finally got my phone back at the airport, I didn't turn it on until I got back to JFK.
Wow. I was with Dolores yesterday, and she was explaining
Yes.
the yellow card out the door, 30-minute supervised calls once a week, and she stared at the bunnies in the field, and I was like, she didn't even read a book. But she said she was begging not to leave. She didn't
Yeah.
want to leave the institution.
Well, that's what it's a little like. And once you get past it, there's an incredible piece about it. When do we have time to read a book?
Right.
And I used to read every
Endlessly.
night and endlessly, maybe on a plane.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when you'd go on vacation and you would pack
Bring-
your books.
Exactly.
That's right.
It was like, oh my God, I get 26 books on holiday. You know, that was
6?
like a big
That's impressive.
deal. Well, you would get 6
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
fumble between them because that's what you did for relaxation.
So I want to go back to a time, and both of you answer, of like when you felt the city was at its height and when you felt maybe there are different times, but the city was at its height of like, whatever, the Andy Warhol, you know, when I read about that in Patti Smith's book, I'm like, that was the time to go to the factory. Do you have a height? What adventures were you going on?
For me, it was when I was writing Sex in the City. Back
For both
in-
the city and the experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like then, you know, in the 90s, I think there was a feeling like you kind of had, I would say the 90s and the 2000s, feeling like I had it under control. You know, it was a different world. There were no cell phones.
Right.
Then it started to change like in the 2000s with the cell phones, and people had cameras and they could take pictures, and there was much more of a gotcha
Right.
kind of.
And let me
feeling,
make
but-
sure I take the picture. The night didn't happen.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, you know, I lived in London almost 10 years, so I missed a lot of, I only lived in New York for a couple of years, then I got married and moved to Hong Kong, and then ended up in London for like 9 years. So I missed a lot of that whole thing. I would come back, but I think what I missed when I first moved to New York and lived there for the first 3 years is this full sense that you were living in a place that it was like you knew the secret.
Yes.
You knew the secret. And if you weren't a New Yorker and you didn't live here, you couldn't play with us. You had it, even though I had no money, okay? The only way we could communicate back then is to go to happy hours and meet each other. We all knew where everyone was, even though there was no cell phones. And we were part of a generation that just was constantly in communication, talking, meeting, right? It was just,
Yes.
you used the
What-
city like a college,
yes.
college
Yes. The city did
campus.
feel
I love
like
that.
it felt like a campus, and it felt like you knew everybody.
and it was much
somehow.
smaller.
Yeah.
There was really only the Upper East Side, and the Upper East Side, you only went down to like the West Village because you were on an adventure.
Really? What
Yes.
year are you talking
Oh
about?
yeah, Hogs and Heifers. Remember when that
Right.
was
Oh, God, what was that
the
place?
tunnel? That
Oh,
was
God.
Yes, the tunnel.
That was a scary
and
place.
what was that place? Cowboys.
Yes.
Cowgirl Hall of Fame.
That was great.
Like Automatic Slims. I mean, I started.
Oh,
I was
Candace?
working for magazines, women's magazines in the 80s, and that was fun, and it was exciting, and it also. And I heard Jerry Seinfeld talking about this, even though he's a freaking billionaire. But he was saying, like, when did the world change so that now the only thing that matters is money? But it's like back then, in those days, you didn't have to have money
Right.
to have a really good life and to have fun and to be an interesting person and be a cool person.
And you didn't feel like you had to leave all the time. And you didn't feel like, also, too, you didn't feel the pressures of dressing a certain way. And
Right.
you didn't feel the pressures of like eating out all the time. You just kind of, the city was theirs for you to take.
I love that.
It was there for you to take.
Yes.
You lived in it in all ways. And it was fun.
It
and
was
you didn't
really
worry.
fun.
I worry for my daughter and for young people because they have even though I had no money and I lived in a 5th floor walk up at 78th with like
It didn't
5
matter.
girls, and we had a Jennifer convertible. Remember that? Jennifer
Yes.
convertible?
Yes. Or,
I
you
think
know,
Jennifer
or
convertibles
a-
are still around.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
That was a big
futon.
deal. A futon. That was
But-
another highlight of the
But
department.
it didn't matter. You could still somehow have this really, really rich life
And go anywhere.
and go
It did-
anywhere.
So you could be at the Pen and Pencil Club. You could be, and then you could be eating cornflakes because you can't afford to buy dinner tonight.
Yeah.
I remember saying once to my friend Nancy O'Brien, I'm like, you know what, Nancy, this is tough because I'm not going to make my way because I went to the surf club. Remember the surf club? And I spent all my money on buying people's drinks and stuff. Like, so I was like, I'm really fucked because I'm not going to make my rent. And she goes, just go on a couple dates. You'll get some great meals out of that. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to date next week because I need to have some nice meals.
So how would you find these
dates? That was the other thing. It was so easy to date. It was. People would always ask, like, is it really the way it was on Sex and the City where they had a different date every week? Yes. It was.
Because everybody went to happy hours. Everybody was out. You couldn't stay home because we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
So if it wasn't on your answering machine, you were doomed.
Yeah.
You know, the highlight of your whole day was coming home to that flashing light. What the hell was on that flashing light?
Exactly. Exactly.
And you had to discuss, our generation had to discuss everything with each other.
As opposed to what? We don't discuss everything? Or you think younger? Like, I'm a millennial. I'm an elder millennial. So I caught the tail end of what you're talking about, where we didn't have cell phones yet and we got to go out and
we would plan a dinner to be like, to discuss, did you see him again? Did you see him again?
Yeah.
And it would, and everybody would support each other, knew each other's business, and, you know, dated each other.
People weren't lonely. Yes. And people did date each other. Everybody dated each other. I mean, that was really one of the reasons for Sex and the City, was that there was a pool of people and they all dated each other. It was not strange that everybody had sex with the same, you know, hot guy.
Sundays for breakfast somewhere, and they'd come in and they'd be like, so I went out with so-and-so last night. You're like, oh, God, you didn't. Like, you know, you just couldn't.
There wasn't this territorial that's like, I had sex with him, he's mine, even if he doesn't want to date with me.
It was very Harry Dubin.
Yes.
What's Harry Dubin?
Exactly. Harry Dubin is a guy who was always on The Real Housewives because he knew all the women. He's a super nice guy.
So nice.
He never
but
got
he's dated
married.
them all. I think I'm the only one he
everyone.
didn't date.
Yeah.
Was it an issue on Housewives?
No, nobody cares.
They would pretend to
I gotta
care,
see a picture of this Harry Dubin.
You know what it was? I think
character.
Also too, I think our relationships with each other as women were so strong that we really didn't, like a man like that couldn't break it.
No, absolutely not.
You know, friends were your life back then, you know?
Yes, that's true. And you could also felt like you really could rely on people to show up. And now it feels, and I know it's not just me, because I talked to this like young guy about this, and he was like, yeah, he said, it's so hard because he said, I want to get together with my friends and they say, oh, well, I'm so busy, we'll get together in 2 weeks. Yeah. But you really could rely on people to show up right sort of then and there.
Well, also
and now it feels like,
because you had no way to get a hold of someone, so you better show up. Well, now you can just cancel because you have.
Then you had no ability to cancel. You put it in your Filofax. It was life.
Yeah.
You'd open
God bless Filofax.
You'd be like, Wednesday at 7, we're all having dinner. And that was it. That was your Bible. And if you lost that Filofax, your life was over.
Oh yeah. Your social calendar gone.
Yes. Your addresses, your social.
I still put everything in a physical journal. It's the best. It is the best.
I do too.
Crossing it off. You mentioned younger man. Had either of you dabble in that territory? And if so, how young? Okay.
I mean, I would, but
you had someone younger for a minute there, didn't you? You were dating someone.
If you listen to Candace, there's no men at all, and we should all give up.
No,
and become frogs.
That's just because I'm super pessimistic.
I know
about,
but I appreciate
relationships. But I'm trying not to be, because I have been told
you can't be pessimistic
by the matchmaker. She was so positive, like, "Oh, there are all these good men out there," and then I realized I just don't care that much.
Yeah,
I'm not that.
So
interested.
you saw a matchmaker.
Well, because I interviewed her for this story that I'm doing. So I'm interviewing, I want to interview everybody. And she was really positive. And she did say that even though she's doing a dating app, she did say that a lot of guys are not on dating apps, or they're terrible on dating apps. And I've heard this from a couple of people. Like, they don't know what pictures to put up. They don't know how to respond. Guys who are successful don't want to be on a dating app because they don't want someone from their office like seeing
That
their
makes sense.
photos, which that makes sense. So I don't know.
Are you dating around?
I don't call it dating. I just kind of come from a place of yes. If someone asks me out, I don't put a big label on it. I go. And sometimes, like I had been to a wedding in Peru and I met a couple nice people that were in New York and I've gone out with them a couple times. One of them, I think, wanted to keep it going, but the other one's become a friend and actually kind of part of my life, He's actually going to come up to, and he's now friends with Greg. So I think it's important to just come from a place of yes.
Yeah.
And you
I
just
mean,
have
if
to say
somebody
yes.
asked me out, I
And
pretty
have
much will go.
lunch. I think we don't have to make dating so daunting. Have lunch. I think lunch is such a great, the dead of day, no alcohol, to go sit with someone. I think it's the best way. I think the dating at night for women of our age is a nightmare. We're tired. You know what I mean? Alcohol's not great for us at night. And, we can make some oopsies that you would otherwise not make if it's at set in mezzo at 1:00 on a Sunday.
What? Tell me about that.
Yeah, what's an oopsie?
You have a couple drinks, you're feeling a little lonely before you know it, your clothes are on the floor and thank God I can't get pregnant. That type of thing. Not me so much, but
Oh my God, I love it.
I mean, I should have more moments of that, but
I mean, the not getting pregnant thing, it makes life real easy.
right.
It should, but there are other things
Yeah.
that go along with that make it not that easy.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Yeah,
But-
no. If I ever had to date again, people would run. I'd be like, I need your test reports and I need constant checks, and I would be so crazy with that stuff.
I also think, and I was saying this to someone a couple of days ago, there is this weird thing in people of our age dating that you feel like it's been like all these people that got married, got divorced. And I got to say this right because I was trying to explain it as an observer of it, that are now back out there that are trying to, it's a combination of dating, especially I see it in women, and trying to secure their old lives. They just want to stay right back at it again.
They want to go back to the
they
glory
want
days.
to keep the Meadow Club membership. They want to keep the Lyford Key membership.
Yes,
They don't want to
that's-
really go back out into the world dating. They want to date within what is going to maintain. And I don't mean just money-wise, just friends, lifestyle, memberships. Do you
Yes.
find that a little bit? It's like its own little ecosystem.
Well, I always want to say to women, if you really like the lifestyle of being married, that whatever that lifestyle is that you're in, if you've got the clubs and you've got this and you've got that, you just got to look the other way.
Just suck
Don't
it up.
get divorced because you will not replicate that. You will not get that back. If you really love the lifestyle and all of that, then you just
And I agree
try
with
to
that.
stick with it, which is
I
seems like
agree
a
with
what
terrible
about
thing
making-
to say,
but-
but because you can't, so the
can't.
men, like the guys who you were married to when you divorced them,
Are dating 30-year-olds.
yes, they are
starting
dating
a whole
30
new life
and
we're
40-year-olds.
placing them into the Meadow Club and into
Yes.
Lyford Key.
So you didn't want to be at those places anyways because you're going to see the
I
30-year-old
think
girl.
there's-
They
I-
want they
I
want
think
to
there's
be
a
there.
cockiness that when you live on the Upper East Side or live in London, you get a cockiness about this lifestyle that you belong in it. Of course, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go there and I'm going to be part of this and a part of that. And you believe that everybody around you believes that. And I have so many times seen women get divorced and they're fine at first. But then you revisit them about 3-4 years later where they've made a couple bad choices. They've dated thinking these men will marry them. A lot of them don't want to get married again or they want to marry younger. And they're struggling to keep their apartment and sometimes
Yes.
not are wearing all the fancy clothes they bought during the marriage but can't pay for the membership anymore. I know that
Yes.
sounds terrible.
No, it's
but
true.
it is
It's
true.
true.
It's true. And the difference is, when I was 40, the idea of being with a man who was 65 would have been like, there's no way. But now, all the women I meet in their 40s, they want to be with men who are in their 60s. Because
Why?
because they have the security.
Got
and
it.
they're settled.
But what
And they're
about
settled,
in our
and-
last episode or 2 episodes ago, you're like, women are making their own money and you're talking about a specific set of women
Yes,
who never
that-
made their own
that-
money.
We're
Yes.
talking about a specific set of women
Right.
that have, this is their job. Their
Right.
job has been
To be
I
the
call
wife.
it Upper East Side just because you can
Yeah,
kind of get
right,
your head
that's-
around it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it happens in many other ecosystems. But this is their job. I was saying to someone the other day, since I've had Parsley, my daughter's dog, she dropped off and never picked up, which I'm thrilled about because I love her very much. And I mean, I really love her too much. Like, it's affecting my social life. I love her so much. But there's all these women on the Upper East Side. There's a study you could do on it that poured their whole lives into their husband and their kids. And we all did that. Oh, Saturday soccer, Monday nights, this, that. We were so on top of their, getting them to be these successful humans, right? And then beautiful apartments, nice dinner parties, good linens, because I came from a generation that didn't understand that, never had that. So I wanted to overachieve and have it all. So now these kids live, and they've replaced all these women I see at 7:00 in the morning in the park, have replaced them all with these beautifully over-groomed dogs. And this is a true story. These dogs have become their kids. I've now gotten part of it because I'm a leaner into. I'm like, well, if they're going to do it, might as well just join the group, right? I can be that person.
So how fancy is this dog of yours?
We have to go to Canine Pets.
Canine Styles. Yes.
That's the one you go to. You got to get your dog groomed there.
Yes.
Got to have that special coat.
Yes.
You've got to, there's a certain doctor you go to. Yep, check. I had to interview for the dog walker.
Oh my gosh.
Interview. She got in. Thank God. I was very worried about
You
it.
sound like you're talking about your
well,
child.
now I need to know who is your dog walker because I've got these two talk about grooming fancy dogs, standard poodles.
Oh God.
And now they are old and they require a lot of time and care. I mean, that's why it's like every weekend I leave the city and go to my house in the Hamptons.
Yes, just to
Because the dogs just, they can't be here. If they're here for 10 days, they're getting diarrhea.
Oh.
One's puking.
Ugh.
It's like, I
Ugh.
can't, no.
No, but just to finish the story, when I first joined this group, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's kind of nice. I've met some nice new women, and maybe I'm gonna be that person now. I am 60 now. Maybe I'll lean into it. And I'm walking home to my apartment. I didn't really know all the names of the dogs the way these women did. And this woman comes up, she goes, "Oh, Dorinda, it's so good to see you. Did you hear about Sandra?" I'm thinking, Sandra. I was like, well, yeah, well, who's Sandra? Yes, well, Kathy is devastated. I didn't want to say anything in group this morning I realized they're talking about a dog.
Oh God.
And I realized this woman has transferred all of her, whatever it is, neuroticism,
To the dog.
intent, love, dedication to this dog, who is beautiful, by the way. And I thought it just is a personality. I think there is really, and then you put these women back in the dating world.
They're only talking about their dogs, and the guy's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not into it." Were you like, "Peace out, I'm out of of this little"?
No, I'm
Group?
so part of it. I
Oh.
love it. I go every morning at 7.
Oh my gosh.
To Central Park?
Yeah, well, I walk every morning at 7.
I love that.
I get up.
That's
I
good.
say my prayers, have my coffee, and go to the park. It just is a good way to start the day, I think.
Yes. Well, let's talk more about dating because I've got to write this story. I mean, I think it's supposed to be about dating for women over 60, but I'm like, no, it's got to be women over 50 because
Yes.
I don't know what the over 60. I mean, I have this idea that, if a man sees, well, first of all, the ratio of single men to single women at 65 changes dramatically.
Because
Up until 65, it's about 50-50.
But then the men start dying, right?
Once you hit 65, it's 21% of men are single and 55% of women are single. So it becomes
I thought they were
really,
just
really
dead.
unbalanced.
Now, are you dating to marry or dating to have a companion?
She's not dating.
Oh, you're not dating.
She's not
You were
interested. She's
dating.
busy.
Saw you on a date at Casa too a couple
Oh,
weeks
she's
ago.
lying to me then, Dorinda.
No,
Oh, no,
I
no,
don't
yeah.
think that was a date.
Oh, that
I
was
think
what's
it
his-
was. That was this guy, Benny,
Oh,
who's a dating coach. And he's like
okay.
35.
No. The guy you were with was older. When I saw you at Castle Joe, I was there, remember? We saw each other in the hallway.
Oh, yes. That guy is not my boyfriend. He's my
Oh,
ex-boyfriend.
that's right. He's your ex.
He's my ex-boyfriend.
Why can't he
And
be?
he's dating somebody in their 40s. The last 2 girlfriends have been in their 40s.
Did you ask him why? Like, what? Is he going to stay in that zone?
He's going to stay in that zone. Yes.
Well, he's a very
will.
good-looking.
He's a good-looking,
successful,
tall, successful,
very connected, has
Yes.
all the bells and whistles.
Okay.
Yes.
You're going to be playing grass tennis at the Meadow Club. You're going to be going to the
Yes.
right cocktail parties. Yeah.
He's
He's
he
on a
really,
walking
like,
lifestyle. He's got a little money.
I got to see a picture of this
I
man.
don't know. Maybe a lot of money. I don't know anything.
But he's never going to be on a dating app because he doesn't need
Oh, no.
to.
He
I mean,
can pick and choose.
when he's single, literally,
That's a
the
bowling game.
women,
All he has to do is.
the women, his women friends.
That's a bowling game.
Yeah, his women friends will fix him up with like, here's 4 women who are available. Who do you want to go out with? And the women always want to go out with him because there's nothing wrong with him.
Ugh. Except he likes
So-
40-year-olds.
Well, for a long time, I'm actually a couple of years older than he is. And we dated for like 3 years.
I thought you'd marry him. I really did.
I think
I
people were
loved you
sort of
guys.
hoping that.
Yeah, you were a great
and
couple
we had
together.
we had
Isn't it
have a
funny
great
how we
time
all
together.
know about?
Yes.
Yeah, I want
yes.
into this
And-
world. I just want to like come. Yes.
But I think he's just somebody who he's never been married. He's never been married, and I don't know if he ever will be married.
That's the thing.
Well,
is he
he's
might
not-
not have to be married.
Yeah.
He can
Yeah,
get
he
what he
doesn't-
wants without it.
Exactly.
Whereas I think sometimes we're more settled
Anytime
down.
he wants
also
it.
he likes his life. Like he has a certain life, and he likes it, and he likes all of his routines and that sort of thing. And you know what? Bless him. I mean, I love him. I talk to him every single day.
Do you think
So-
you guys was that ever a discussion with you two that you wanted to be married or no?
No, it never got there. So I wouldn't mind being married. When I was married, I thought I was happily married, but then my ex-husband took up with somebody else for a couple of years.
Wait, before he was your ex-husband?
Yeah, before he was my ex-husband.
Oh,
And
gosh.
is he still taking up with her today?
No, but they were together for like 10 years.
Wow.
And I think they thought that they were in love. And, it's like you can't really.
Wait, because you can't build a house on a bad foundation.
No.
And taking
No.
taking a man out of a marriage is a bad foundation. You
And-
think you can, but the house is faulty forever. It may take a couple of years for the shingles to fall down, but they eventually fall down.
Yes.
It's true.
They do.
I
So,
believe you.
Anyway, but my feeling is you've got to be able to be like good being by yourself and good being with somebody. Because the reality is that most of us are going to have times when we're single and have times when we're with a
Listen,
partner.
it's bigger than that. Most of us, even married, won't be alone. Men die, women die. So women tend to. I read a study that was very interesting that said women that don't get married again in their 50s and 60s actually have a much better last 2 decades of life because they re-socialize, they keep their girlfriends, they stay active, they go on vacation. I worry about this with my mother. She's been with my father since she was 18. She knows no life without him.
Yes.
So she doesn't even have friends anymore. Like at any one, I can be 75 one day and be like, Luann, Candace, let's go on a boat trip. You know what
And
I mean? And
we
be like,
will do it.
yes.
Yes.
So it's nice because men die.
Yes.
They do. We
so
last
this idea
a long
to get
time.
married, not to be lonely, is ridiculous.
Would you?
And
I
ever-
don't
would
want to
you
be
ever-
married again.
You would
I
never
mean,
do it again.
It's not that I would never, because I think when you say never, you find yourself in a church on a Sunday with a ring on your finger. And I don't believe you should ever say never to anything. I think if someone really wanted to be married and it was important to them.
Yeah.
I think if they were
But
really
love to me is love. Like if I commit
Right.
to someone, I would be very loyal to them. So if that loyalty required me to show that person,
Then you would.
I would do it.
Yeah.
But I like family, love, tradition,
Yes.
connection. I just don't know about it financially and stuff now. Because I'm at a point.
Just keep that shit separate.
Yeah, well,
My
that's what
shit's
you'd have
separate.
to do. Yeah, I'm at a point where like I'm okay financially. I feel good about where my life is. I would hate to blow it up with a bad financial. I know that sounds terrible.
It doesn't
No,
sound terrible
it could
at all. I think
happen.
women need to be smarter about
Yeah.
it. Like we have a joint account for family. We have separate accounts for whatever the fuck we want. And that's how it is. And there's
I
a
think that
floozy
makes
clause
sense.
if we ever get divorced. Yeah. If we ever get divorced or I die, if he brings in a floozy, then it's automatically everything goes to the kids so that she can never take anything that I built. Yeah. My mom called it the floozy clause. And I was like, we're putting
love
this
the
in.
floozy clause. That should be a legal term. I want a T-shirt that says the floozy clause.
Every woman should have one. Like, you think you're ending this? Good. You lose it all. Floozy doesn't get shit, and the kids get it all.
Let's do a limited edition line called the floozy clause. We'll get a bunch of women. Smarten up, women, because today we're going to teach you about the floozy clause.
Oh, my gosh.
But I think, Candace, for you, well, 2 seconds. I'm just going to say, I just think you're such a, not just because I adore you, but you're such a vibrant, interesting, multi-layered woman. You can't get negative because that will be the downer of men, success and things, because energy draws energy, right?
Yes.
And you,
exactly.
for me, when I think
Truth.
of you or see you, or I'm always so excited. Oh my God, it's Candace! Ah! You know what I mean? That you have all that. I wouldn't let any of the noise or any of that, And I think if you really want something, literally fucking manifest it. I wake up sometimes, and when I say my prayers, I say, God, send me down some guardian angels in the next week to help guide me to the right people and places where these things can happen. Now I have to put effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh darn it, it happens all the time.
Now I'm so glad
I swear to
didn't go
God.
that party
I
last
swear to
night, 'cause
God.
I could have met somebody at that party.
Well,
Yes,
there's going to
you
be another party.
Yeah.
Luann's going to have another party.
That's not Luann Gregg.
It's not Luann. It's
So
this
why
other
don't
one.
I do this whenever we get, because we get the same invites.
Exactly.
I'll
I
just
think
text you and say, are you going?
Yes, if I knew you guys were going, I would have gone in 2 seconds. But I was like, I don't know if I want to go all the way downtown, and then nobody I know is there. And what if I'm like,
How could you say that? You knew Greg and Lisa were throwing it. You know everybody there.
I know,
I mean,
I
that's
know,
a
but
ridiculous statement. It's the same. It's the
I
same
know,
40
but-
people that's been swimming in this farmed salmon land
And-
for 50 years now.
and I'm somebody who I love seeing those
true.
I love seeing those same 40 people.
Me too.
Some people are like, oh, I don't want to see the same people. I'm like, I want to see
too.
the
I find
same
comfort in it.
people all the time. I love it. I love these people. I love whoever I know. I'm like, I love them.
So
Yes,
we've established
exactly.
firmly here in the public forum that you are going to be her guide and you are going to draw her out to
Yeah,
the
I'm just going
parties.
to text her. I mean, I
Get her in a
just
state of
assume-
positivity.
I just assume she's going because, Greg
I
loves
know,
you
I
and just went to your
know, and I
show.
was-
and I just, but if you need me to say, hey, listen, you're going tonight, I do it
Well,
with Luann.
also, I should have texted.
Because
I should have texted you and Luann, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't even know where Luann is.
Well, but Luann never knows what's going on. Luann's always like,
I thought
text her,
last time she looked, I looked at her on Instagram. She's in the Caribbean.
I know, but I text her too. Like I texted her yesterday. I said, so listen, we're going tonight to where, darling? I said, I told you about this thing last week. Well, can you send it again? I said, okay. And then we're going afterwards. We're going to go downtown. You're going to come downtown. To what, darling? I said, so I just retexted all to her. I do it a week before, 2 days before, and the day of.
Yes.
Any last words?
How you doing?
I tell you how I'm doing. Not well, bitch. No, we're doing very well, bitch. I think just be open. Come from
Yes.
a place of yes. Believe that things truly do happen when they're meant to be. And just be open. Smile at everybody and just be happy because I just believe it will. I think life is a lot about timing.
I think it is. Yes. And
But you
I
can't
don't
be
know.
negative because
I
that
know,
shit
I'm
just
only
erases out
negative.
stuff.
I'm just negative about
I think you're frustrated.
dating.
I think you're frustrated. I don't think the word's negative. I think you're frustrated.
Yeah, but I think if you
Maybe.
take it out of this label of dating, like what she said, you might make a friend out of it. So
Yeah.
you're just
Oh,
approaching it from a different mindset.
Yes. Yes.
And then if I want to kiss him over, cafe latte before we take a walk, I go for it.
Do you give him a warning? Like, I'm going to kiss you?
You know, I'll be honest with you. There's very few people that would refuse a kiss from Dorinda Medley.
I'm sure.
I love you. I love you. Oh my God.
I go for the, because I'm Italian, and I go for the real embracey kiss. Not mouthy kind of kiss, but the,
Yes.
Oh my
Hugging
God.
and
That's a
touching
wrap.
and yes.
That's a wrap. That was perfect. We're celebrating National Caramel Day and our last cheers to this series.
Cheers.
This episode is sponsored by Magnum Ice Cream. Indulge in the Magnum Double Caramel Ice Cream Bars. To create the most indulgent experience, velvety Madagascan vanilla bean ice cream is dipped in a gooey, chocolatey coating, followed by a rich caramel sauce and covered again in a crackling milk chocolate shell. Magnum believes you deserve the best possible dessert experience every time. And for lovers of chocolate and caramel, their Double Caramel Ice Cream Bar is exactly that. More is more with Magnum Ice Cream.